Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. This week, I want to talk about the dismal numbers we're seeing when it comes to responding to the 2020 census this year. Now, I get it, we have a pandemic going on, there's a lot of wacky stuff going on in 2020, so it may be a little more difficult to do, but it's really important, and we're going to go through the numbers today. The census is important for so many reasons. One, it's a constitutional law. So we're compelled by the U.S. Constitution to be counted every 10 years. And we want to be. It's so very important that we are. Several reasons why. This depends upon our funding for schools, for roads and highways, for infrastructure projects, water districts, rural water, rural sewer. This has so many implications in a lot of different areas, including our representation. Is our numbers, as far as how many numbers we fill into the census, tells us how many representatives we're going to have in the U.S. Congress as well as the state Congress when it comes to the House of Representatives. That's so important on so many different levels that we need to fill this out. So this week, it's a little bit of a disappointment about the numbers we're seeing. Here, I want to show an example here. Right now, today, we got in Tulsa County, or Oklahoma County, which has a really good rate of people filling this out. We got 61% of people self-responding to this so far. And if you notice, on 2010, we had about 65% respond. So we're right there in the numbers, but really, I look at that and I'm like, 65%. Wow, that's pretty low of self-responders. Now this time around, you can see, hey, half of them, 50% of the people, are filling it out online. So, and that's a good thing because this is really the easy way to do it. Go online, go to 2020census.gov, and you can get your PIN from them, and you can fill the thing out. It doesn't take 5 minutes. And then we're all counted. We get the funds we need here. We get the representation that we're legally obligated to have. And it's just better for our communities. It's better for our citizens all the way around. It does so many different things. So it kind of disappointed me when I look at the numbers and I look at Adair County, for instance, the worst. It has a 34% response. Only a third of their people have filled out the census this time around. So let's say that holds together and they only have a third of their citizens respond. Well, you know what they just did? They just lost representation. They may lose a representative because of that. They will definitely lose funding because of it, because they're only counting a third of their people. Well, they only have this many people, so this is how many funds they are going to be allocated for certain projects. Public utility or otherwise, and that's why we need to really fill this thing out. The worst is Marshall County. They have 28%, which is pretty close to 34, right? So there again, you have people in these counties that aren't being counted. They're not going to be counted, and they're going to suffer for this. And we need to really educate these people on it, and that's why I want to do this show today, because I did do an episode right when this came out during Census Week, 2020 Census. Here we go, let's fill this thing out and be counted. And now here we are several months later, and we just haven't been counting people like we should. So, and I don't want to sound like a broken record talking about how important it is that we all do what we're supposed to do, fill this thing out, be counted for our communities, because it just works on so many levels to do this. So it's kind of disappointing to see these numbers. So please get out there, tell people about it, and these numbers show that, hey, this isn't just Republicans or some backwoods conservative or independent libertarian people. This is Democrats too. When you see numbers like this, that only 34% of people responded, well, there's Democrats in there, liberals, that aren't filling this out. Everybody needs to, and it shouldn't be a political wedge anyway. You should fill this out for so many different reasons, just for your own sakes, for your own personal selves, for your own community, for your own families that live in your community, and your own friends in there. It's that important that we fill these out, that we get counted, so that we have the numbers in there, we have the proper representation and the proper funds coming to fund things like our public schools, our public roads, and our public utilities, drainage, waterways. It goes into all kinds of different, water and sewer infrastructure, flooding infrastructure, all kinds of things. And this is just an influx into your community, what this brings to you. Plus the representation side, we're counted. They say, okay, how many people are in this area? Well, you get so much representation for so many people that's in the Constitution, and that's how they come up with these numbers. They look at the census data to get those numbers to tell us that we're going to have 7 or 9 or however many U.S. House Representative seats we're going to have. If we only have a third of Oklahoma be counted that we have in the past, well, we're going to have a third of the representation as well. So that's why it's important. That's why it's important to let people know, hey, this is important stuff. It only takes 5 minutes. Get online, go do it. 2020census.gov, I believe, and get this thing filled out. Now, like I said, these numbers, they're probably skewed a little due to the fact that we got COVID going on, and we have a whole bunch of other set of things and protest and unrest going on right now. But still, that's no excuse, because still, even with that, we can do this online. You can do the whole thing, social distancing, not have to see a soul, and do it right online and fill it out. It doesn't take 5 minutes to do it. As a matter of fact, the website has a 15-minute timeout. There's a limit that times you out after 15 minutes. So you got no excuse. You got to go fill this out and be counted. Be counted for yourself. Be counted for your community. And maybe not make sure you're counted. Make sure everyone's counted. Make sure your neighbors are counted. Your elderly neighbors. Your elderly aunt. Your grandmother. Everyone. Make sure that hey man, you filled the census out. Be counted. Make sure they have. Maybe that's what we need to do. Get together as concerned citizens ourselves and just let everybody know, hey, you need to fill out the census. It's that important. Maybe we should all post on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you got. Do that now. Hey, have you filled out the census? Do that. Maybe we ought to do it. Maybe that's something that needs to be done. And this time around, it may be difficult because of, COVID and everything else. I still don't think that's an excuse. And you know what? As far as the laws written, as far as the constitutional states, it doesn't care that the pandemic's going on or a hurricane or whatever else. You're either counted or you're not. So that's why we need to get people counted, especially in this state. And the numbers show we need to do a better job, much better than what we've done. Well, that's my show this week on please fill out the 2020 census and be counted. I hope you'll join us again next week for another great, fabulous show. We'll see you next week.